Yo, what's up guys, STEOTW here. In this video, we're going to be ranking all of Motionless and White's albums in a tier list. So far, I have made this exact video on 3 different bands, Bullet for My Valentine, Asking Alexandra, and Of Mice and Men. If you guys haven't seen those videos before and you don't really know how this works, basically, we have a tier list in front of us with all of Motionless and White's albums, not including deluxe versions or EPs or anything like that, just their main basic albums. We have them here in a tier list with 5 different categories that go from perfect, great, good, bad, and horrible. Basically, we'll go through all these albums one by one from their very first album to their most recent album. We'll talk a little bit about each album, and then I'll decide what tier I think they should be in. Quickly, before we get into ranking these albums, I want to let you guys know that I recently hit 5,000 subscribers, and I have a goal of hitting 10,000 subscribers before 2025. I know that is a very long shot, and if we're being honest, it's really not going to happen, but I would like to get as close to 10K as I can. So if you guys are new to my channel and are enjoying my content, hit that subscribe button for more content like this. I plan to do these tier list ranking videos, a lot more of them in the future. Like I said, I've already done 3 of them. This will be the 4th one. I'm not sure which band I'm going to do next, so while you guys are subscribing, hopefully, comment down what band I should do one of these videos on next. Anyways, guys, without further ado, let's start off with Motionless and White's debut album, Creatures. So I've been a fan of Motionless and White for about 8 years, since like 2016. The very first song I listened to by Motionless and White was Reincarnate, and then the whole Reincarnate album. Shortly after I discovered Motionless and White, I checked out all of their albums, and if I'm being honest, it wasn't up until a couple years ago that I didn't really enjoy Creatures for a long time. It was probably maybe like 4-ish years ago. I've only really loved this album for like 4-ish years. For some reason, the first half of my love for Motionless and White, I just didn't like this album.
Are you serious?
I liked the hits off of it, obviously Abigail and Immaculate Misconception, I really enjoyed, but the album overall I really wasn't a big fan of, or not a huge fan of, until recent years. This album is just super cool, honestly. Like all the themes with the spooky Halloween, Einstein Kills vibes, and like every song is super heavy, and I love the old like crapcore 2010 metalcore style, like Chris doing the eops and the big bouncy breakdowns and the clean choruses, and Chris's cleans on this album are just so nostalgic to me. And the songwriting on this album is immaculate. It's so good. Every song sounds completely different on this album, while maintaining a cohesive sound. Love the synth work also. I feel like the synth work in this album doesn't get talked about enough, man. The synths in this album are so cool. Every song on this album is its own experience, really. I mean, you have a song like Immaculate Misconception that is heavy as fuck, and then you got City Lights, you know? It's like, it's just, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about how versatile this album is. Not to mention that this is arguably Motionless and White's heaviest album. So yeah, man, like I said, I didn't used to love this album, but now I really fucking love this album. So what I would call a perfect album is an album that I wouldn't change anything about. And thinking about Creatures, I can't put my finger on anything that I would really change about it. Yeah, fuck it, man. I'm putting it in perfect. After doing 4 of these videos, assuming you guys have watched all 4 of these videos, you guys are probably thinking that I have like no negative opinions. Keep in mind that I'm doing this with I'm doing these videos with my favorite bands. So they're my favorite bands for a reason. You know, I'm a little biased, but just trust me when I say I'm going to do more of these videos in the future, and I'll have a lot more albums in the lower tiers. So yeah, man, I'm putting Creatures in perfect. Let me know where you guys would put Creatures. Next up, we have Motionless and White's second album, Infamous. I'm not gonna lie, man, this is my least favorite Motionless and White album. I know a lot of people really enjoy this album, and don't get me wrong, I like this album, but it is my least favorite. It just is. It's not the sound that I want from Motionless. I feel like Infamous is the album that Chris really got into his Marilyn Manson, like, 9 Inch Nails phase when he started doing that type of vocal delivery. That with like the Rammstein-ish instrumentals, it's just not a sound that I love. I like every song on this album. I don't really love a lot of the songs. Like I really like Underdog, Puppets 2, America, Devil's Night, Black Damask. If It's Dead, We'll Kill It. Like, every song on here is good and cool. It's just the sound of this album is not something that I ever come back to, really. Also, I find that the production on this album is also kind of weird. Like, being their second follow-up album, you would think that their first album would have the weaker production, and then after getting some fame and probably some money from their first album, did it have better production? Maybe it's not that it's not as good, it's just not enjoyable to me. I feel like a lot of the vocal mixing and mastering on Chris's vocals is kind of odd on this album, which goes hand in hand with the like Marilyn Manson style vocals. I don't know, I might be wrong about that though. So yeah, man, not a huge fan of this album, but it's definitely not bad. So I'm going to be putting Infamous in the good category. I know there's a lot of you out there that are big fans of this album, but I can't put it in great. I just can't. Next up, we have the album that made me fall in love with Motionless in White when I first discovered this band back in 2016. We have Reincarnate. I mean, dude, this album is sick as fuck. It's just so cool. That atmosphere that this album has, it's impeccable, man. It's so cool. But just to say a little bit about this album, every song is so cool and unique. I mean, Motionless in White does that very well, and that's why they're one of my favorite bands, but I feel like this album in particular, all the songs are so unique and so cool. So yeah, man, without a doubt, it's going in perfect, and I'm going to put it in front of Creatures. I like heavy music, and I think it's fair to say that Creatures is a heavier album than Reincarnate, but I just love Reincarnate. I love the heavy mixed with that Infamous sound, even though I was talking about not really enjoying Infamous. I think Reincarnate is a heavier Infamous, and I like it. For a long time, this was my favorite Motionless in White album. I don't really know why either. When you talk to other Motionless in White fans, a lot of fans don't love this album, and it gets a lot of hate, and people talk a lot of shit on this album. I see on TikTok all the time people talking about how they went downhill after Graveyard Shift, and I'm like, Graveyard Shift is sick, man. The only issue I really have with this album is it doesn't feel like it has enough content in it. It has 12 songs, but it's like it feels so short.
That's what she said.
Like, I really feel like they could have added maybe 2 or 3 songs on this album and made it a fuller experience, but that's just me. So yeah, man, I think this album is sick, and although it used to be one of my favorites, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't fit into the perfect category for me, so I am gonna put it in great. I think that's fair. Let's go, man. Now we got my favorite Motionless in White album, Disguise. When it comes to my favorite bands, I really struggle picking my favorite album from those favorite bands because I love their albums so much. I mean, it's been a long time that Disguise has been my favorite Motionless in White album, and it hasn't changed in a very long time. In my eyes, Disguise is miles ahead of all their other albums. I mean, and it's not even their heaviest album either. It's just everything about this album, the darkness of it, the lyrical content. I think this album has Chris's best lyrical content. The heavier songs and heavier moments are so fucking sick. I relate to a lot of the lyrical content in this album is one of the main reasons I really love this album. And another big factor for me loving this album to death is the production. I love the production on this album. The mixing and mastering is like, it's perfect. Something else about this album is you can be in any mood to listen to the songs on it. If you're in the gym working out, you can listen to Thoughts and Prayers. If you're in a more hard rock kind of mood, Breaking Benjamin-esque mood, you could listen to Legacy or Holding On to Smoke. Another Life is an emotional, beautiful song, and you got like a kind of funky, cool song, Broadcasting Beyond the Grave, kind of more for the fans, and you got, I mean, it's all over the place with the moods, and I love it, and it's like, it's all over the place with the different moods, but it's so cohesive with the production and style of the songs. No question about it, man, Disguise is going in perfect at the front, man. I mean, it's great. Now, to finish this off, last but not least, we have Motionless in White's latest album, Scoring the End of the World. So how do I apologize and put the tears back in your eyes? I did a full album reaction to this album. If you guys would like to go see my Motionless in White reactions, they're up on the channel. I love this album. It's really good. I had a blast reacting to it, but this surprisingly is a lot of people's favorite Motionless in White album. And to be fair, Motionless in White has gotten a lot of popularity since releasing the singles for this album, especially with Masterpiece. Scoring Into the World is definitely Motionless's, I'd say, one of their softer albums, maybe alongside Infamous. I don't know, it's not really softer. It's just there's a lot more singing than, I don't know. Motionless in White has such a weird mix of heavy and soft. It's so hard to say what's their like softest album. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like a lot of younger people got into Motionless in White because of this album, and that's why it's a lot of people's favorite album, which I understand that. I don't know. I really enjoyed this album, but I feel like Disguise is just such a better album. I don't know. Like, I don't shame anyone for having a favorite album, because who the fuck does that? But it is, like, kind of wowing to me when people say Scoring is their favorite Motionless album when you have Disguise, you know? Like, why would you, like, how do you not like Disguise more? But, you know, that's just my opinion. I really enjoyed this album. My only critique about this album is that I really wish they used the Caleb Shomo feature better with Red, White, and Boom. Caleb Shomo is one of my favorite vocalists, and I love Beartooth. And to this day, I'm pretty disappointed with that song. It's not a bad song, but I don't know why they didn't write a cooler song with Caleb. But, you know, whatever. And another critique is the other feature, Mick Gordon. They could have done a lot better with Mick Gordon too, but that's in the past now, you know? Looking at this tier list, do I like Scoring Into the World more than Creatures? I don't know, actually. It's definitely more memorable than Creatures. I do. I like it more than Creatures. Okay. Do I like Scoring Into the World more than Reincarnate? I think I do. I don't like it more than Disguise. Okay. Scoring Into the World is going in perfect in front of Reincarnate. Now, let's take a big long look at this and see if I'm okay with it. In the perfect category, we got Disguise, Scoring Into the World, Reincarnate, and Creatures. In the great category, we got Graveyard Shift. In good, we have Infamous. I feel comfortable with Infamous and Graveyard Shift. The thing is, the albums that are in the perfect category, I love all four of them so much for different reasons. So it's difficult. I know Disguise is my favorite. And I love Creatures, but it is in the last place in the perfect category for sure. And I just cannot decide whether Scoring or Reincarnate should be in the second spot. Which, it obviously doesn't matter that much. They're both in the perfect category. But that's how I like doing these videos. I think I'm going to keep Scoring Into the World in the second spot in the perfect category. I love all of their albums, don't get me wrong, but I think this is good. Alright guys, this is my tier list of Motionless in White's albums. Let me know how you guys would rank these albums, or better yet, go in the description and go do this tier list yourself. I have a link in my description of this video to this tier list if you guys would like to go do it yourself. If you do, hit me up on Instagram and send me a picture of your tier list, and I'll let you know what I think about your tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said earlier, I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers. So if you guys want to help me get to that goal, a subscription would be greatly appreciated. Also, make sure you comment down below what band I should do one of these videos on next. I plan on doing Shinedown and Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace, Ice 9 Kills, a couple other bands, but if there's any bands out there you guys would want me to do one of these videos on, let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the future.